Today we're going to be looking at the story of Jesus' first miracle. And at his first miracle, what did Jesus show himself to be? We are going to be in John chapter 2. So we're going to see what did Mary do when a problem arose at a wedding. And this is talking about Mary, Jesus' mother. In the first two verses, on the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there. And Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. So at this point, the disciples are at a wedding, Jesus is at a wedding, his mother's at a wedding, and it's the third day in. And this was normal. They'd have a couple day celebration for a wedding at that time. And verse 3 is going to tell us what the problem was. In verse 3, it says, "When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, 'They have no more wine.'" And this was a problem. They used wine to celebrate, and they would kind of go and party and celebrate until there was no more. So when there was a problem, Mary turned to Jesus when the wine was gone. So Cana is right here. So a couple places that we hear a lot about is the Sea of Galilee, Nazareth, and we know that Cana is in Galilee, so where Jesus is from, near Nazareth, where he is also at a lot of the time. What did Jesus say he would help? We'll see his response in verse 4. "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied, "My hour has not yet come." So Jesus is saying, "It's not my time yet." And then we see his mother's response. His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." So Mary knows that it's not Jesus' time, but just in case, she's saying to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you," because Mary's putting her trust in Jesus. Jesus said that he would help when the time was right. How did Jesus solve the problem when the time was right? Verse 6. Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. So these are big jars that would be used, and they wouldn't be normally used for wine. It was more for the washing of people's feet. 2 verses 7 to 8. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. So we see, though, then the servants listened and did exactly what Jesus told them. So they filled them to the brim or to the top. Then he told them, "Now draw some out and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so. At that point, if I was a servant, I'd be a little bit nervous going to the master because you've got your water and you're taking it to your master with just water. He doesn't want just water. He's looking to have more wine. So if I were the servant, I'd be a little bit nervous. But we see that these servants trusted Jesus and did exactly what he asked of them. And then we see the miracle in verse 9. "And the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside." So Jesus, on the way to these servants taking the water over there, turned that water into wine. Verse 10, "And said, 'Everyone brings out the choice or the best wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now.'" So not only did Jesus turn water into wine, it was the best wine that this master had ever had before. In verse 11, what Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. So just his disciples seeing this led them to believe in him. Jesus showed he was the Son of God by changing water into wine. So we see these big jars, and that's not normally, the wine would normally be in something like this, and he had all these huge jars filled, turning that water into wine. Jesus showed himself to be the Son of God, who has the power over nature and power to answer prayer. All right, as we look into our worksheet for today, it's called Scramble Fort. So it tells us to unscramble the letters and find the correct word for the blank in each sentence. Then unscramble the circled letters to make the word for the word in the blank in number 16. So we're going to go ahead and start, and it says, the first one says, Jesus was at a blank in Cana. I see some letters there, and I also know that looking right away, it says Jesus was at a wedding. So this is where the story took place, at a wedding. There's no circled letters there, so I'm not going to worry about them. At the wedding, the blank ran out. Right away in these first couple verses, I see that they have no more wine, so the wine ran out. Blank came and told Jesus that the wine was gone. Mary was actually the one who said, Jesus' mother, who we know as Mary, said to him, they have no more wine. And I see those letters, Mary, Mary. Jesus told her his blank had not come. My hour, I don't see the letters Hour in there. But when I think of hour, I know that a letter starting with T comes to mind, time. His time had not come yet. Mary told the blank to do whatever Jesus asked. In verse 5, I see his mother said to the servants, and I see those letters in there. Nearby stood 6 stone blank. Right away, I see water jars. I know that I don't need the word water in there because I just see those 4 letters to make up jars. Jesus told the servants to fill the jars with blank. And I see some letters there that's looking like water. And I know that he turns the water into wine. Then he told them to take some to the blank. Now draw some out and take it to the master. And I see those letters in there, so master. Jesus had blank the water into wine. I know the miracle is Jesus turning water into wine, or changes. Turned, we see those letters in there. So Jesus had turned the water into wine. I want you to finish off the last ones on your own. This last part, it just says, we trust Jesus to blank all our prayers. So I would write out the letters that are in the circle. So I see W, E, S, R, and then I want you to come up with, if you can unscramble that one, we trust Jesus to blank all of our prayers.